Derek Sheridan from Rust Belt Basketball Coaches Network and Basketball Nexus website. Before we get into our State of the Game podcast, I want to give thanks to our sponsors who make these free podcasts possible. Brad Morrison and Danny's Cafe, located in beautiful Rossford, Ohio. Danny's Cafe is the ultimate spot for a family-friendly breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or a night out with friends to watch your favorite high school, college, or pro team. Danny's Cafe offers an incredible food experience for people with varying types of palates, and the service is fast and provided by the most hospitable staff in Northwest Ohio. The next time you're on the hunt for a place to grab a bite or cheer on your favorite team, head to Danny's Cafe, located directly across the street from Rossford High School. For an athlete, few things are worse than having to compete on a slick surface. Well, my friends Tom Rose and Matt Olin have solved this conundrum by creating Grip Spritz. Grip Spritz offers a wide array of shoe-to-court traction products that are not only highly effective, but also affordable, easy to use, and easy to transport. It's no wonder Grip Spritz has become the official traction solution for the Ohio High School Basketball Coaches Association and the National High School Basketball Coaches Association. Take it from me. If the OHSBCA and the NHSBCA are making Grip Spritz their official court cleaning product, Grip Spritz simply has to be the best on the market. LJ Archambault and Game 1. If you're looking for an easy and affordable way to purchase all of your sporting good needs, look no further than Game 1, located in Swanton, Ohio. I've worked with LJ Archambault for 20 years, and I have never worked with a more honest, punctual, and detail-oriented sporting goods salesman. I coached for nearly 3 decades and in 2 different states, and have never worked with a better organization than Game 1, and more importantly, a better person than LJ Archambault. It's always game on at Game 1. Derek Sheridan from Rust Belt Basketball Coaches Network. Thank you for joining us this beautiful Sunday afternoon. We have the head men's basketball coach of Wilmington University, Coach Dan Burke. And we will definitely get into this upset, but before we do that, we're going to talk to Coach about his journey, and he'll talk to us about his team, his schedule. Coach, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. And let's start off. Could you tell us about your journey and how you became the head basketball coach at Wilmington University?
Sure. So first of all, thanks so much for having me on. I love talking hoops with like-minded people, so it means a lot for the invite. But so I grew up in a small town northwest of Philadelphia called Pottstown, Pennsylvania. So not a huge basketball area, but my grandfather was actually a walk-on at Villanova in the 1950s. So he stayed involved in the program and had season tickets, and that was really my introduction to basketball, was just spending so much time with him, going to games in the Big Five, basketball events all around Philadelphia, and really developed a passion for it. Tried other sports, but nothing interested me besides basketball. So, was a decent player in high school, had a chance to play in college. So I played at Chestnut Hill College in Philadelphia, which was an interesting journey because my first year, it was the first year of males on campus. It was an all-women's school before. So it was the beginning of the program. So I was actually the first commit.
If you want to help us grow, if you enjoy our content, please like, share, subscribe, and leave us comments on our social media postings. That helps us grow our small coaches network more than you could ever know. Thank you so much.
To play for Coach Jesse Balser there at Chestnut Hill while he was starting the program. And then my last year was our first year moving up to D2. So I think I had the unique experience of having two starts, having to be on the ground floor of two different experiences. So again, not a great college player, but I think I did everything the right way, and I was able to start coaching at Chestnut Hill as soon as I graduated. I was able to be a D2 coach at 23, and the rest is kind of history. I was an assistant there for 4 years, an assistant coach at Camden County College in New Jersey for 1 year, and then got the head coaching job at Wilmington in 2014.
When you were at Chestnut Hill, they had just transitioned from being an all-girls school, and you were the first class of males to have in. That's really interesting. I had another coach on from New York, and he was the head coach of the school that had the exact same situation. I never thought I'd hear two of those, but that's really neat. Chestnut Hill was NCAA Division II, and you were there.
In my senior year, prior to my senior year, we moved up from Division III to Division II, and they're actually in the CACC, so they're in the same conference as Wilmington. So we compete against each other. And my wife also played there, so we met at Chestnut Hill. She's the head coach at Goldie Beacom in Delaware, who's also in our conference.
No
so
kidding.
Coach against our alma maters.
Well, I bet you guys have some interesting conversations.
Yeah, we do. We do. You talk X and O sometimes, but we try to make sure that our relationship is as normal as possible.
Yes. Understood. Well, Coach, tell us about your team, about your roster. Who should we be on the lookout for in regards to the Wilmington University men's basketball program?
So I really love our team this year. We, after the 23-24 season, like a lot of teams, we had a lot of defections to the portal. I think we lost 4 guys to the portal, and we have 5 guys graduate. So we lost 100% of our scoring from 23-24 into 24-25. So we replaced those guys with some very talented freshmen and some transfers that most of whom hadn't had a lot of playing experience at their previous stops. So last year was kind of a reset. We had to learn how to play together, learn the college game. But partway through the year, we really gelled, played well. And now coming into this year, we lost 2 of those transfers because they were 1-year guys. They had 1 year of eligibility, but all those freshmen came back. So a year under their belt, a lot of experience, a lot of motivation. And we added some junior college guys. We added 4 JUCOs who are mature, experienced, talented. And the mesh right now is, it's really in a good spot. So we're excited. The freshman last year that I mentioned, our big guy, Trey Hawkins, is from Waldorf, Maryland. He averaged about 12 a game last year, had some really good moments. Jalen Horsey is a local guy from Wilmington. He was actually one of our few early commits. He committed before his senior year in high school, and he averaged about 13 a game. And then Dan Perkins is from Dover, Delaware, which is a little further away in the state. But he's a state champion. He's only about 5'6", but he led this conference in scoring. Led the conference in assists, and really talented guy. I think this year he was the first unanimous captain that I've ever coached. Every player, every coach voted him as captain, and he's just a special leader that every good team has.
That's rare to have someone get the unanimous nod for an important position like that, especially from the coaches. Was he a junior college transfer as well?
No, he was a freshman. So he was one of the freshmen that kind of got thrown into the fire last year. So he ended up leading the conference in assists, and he had won a state championship for his high school, which was the first in the program's history the year before he came with us. So, he's a born winner and a great leader. And adding to the mix of those guys, we have some really good JUCO guys that are performing well. We have Jaden Guy, who in our first 2 games, he had 30 and 15 respectively. Keem Taylor, he's just overall really solid, really mature. He can do a little bit of everything. He hit 3 free throws with 0.3 on the clock yesterday when we were down 2 to win the game in overtime. So if that doesn't tell you about his maturity and just competitive nature, I don't know what will. So adding those experienced guys to the mix that we have, I think is working for us so far.
I read about the overtime game yesterday, and that sounded like it was from the tip to the finish. That had to be an extremely fast-paced game.
It was a great game. D'Uville made a lot of shots. I think they made 11 threes after making 1 the previous day. And they played really hard. They're very well coached. And we ended up going up 8 with about 2 minutes left. They tied it with about 4 seconds left. And then we got a shot at the buzzer that went in and out. Then they went up 8, and I'm sorry, they went up 6 in overtime, and then we came back and ended up winning at the buzzer. So with those free throws, so it was a great game. What college basketball is all about.
Did you watch Minnesota game last night versus Green Bay?
I didn't see it, but I saw the end. I think I saw it on Twitter or Instagram. So I saw the layup and then the half court shot. I mean, there's nothing like it. There's no sport like college basketball.
Agreed. The Big Ten is going to be really back to where it was at one point in time with the amount of coaches they have now. You got DeVries at IU, and I was really looking forward last night to watching Nico at Minnesota and this year's, and of course at Iowa now.
Yep.
You know, with
Ben
McCollum, right?
D2 guy. Yep.
Yes, exactly. They are executing on such a high level right now, the Hawkeyes. And I got to see him when he was at Drake. I never got to see him coach when he was at Division II. I would love to see one of his practices.
Mm-hmm. You know, there's a podcast I heard him talk about his practices. I forget. I listen to so many. I forget exactly which one it was, but he talked about how, you know, the first, you know, half hour or so is drill work and fundamentals. But besides that, they play. You know, they play the game. They play basketball. And I think as coaches sometimes, and I'm guilty of it as well sometimes, is you want to work on so much, but you forget that the game is the game. And at the end of the day, guys have to have a rhythm playing with each other. They have to play the game as much as possible to be able to perform, you know, when the lights are on.
When I finished my career, I was just telling somebody about this on the podcast 2 weeks ago. Kids weren't playing the game ever unless it was organized. When kids stop playing the game on their own, just going to the park and playing, and if you got beat, you might have to sit out for 40 minutes and wait until you get another shot at playing. I think fundamental skills, all those offensive skills, diminished greatly. And my point in saying all that is now playing in practice was a necessity. It was crucial. And with the transfer portal and those types of things that guys at your level and gals at your level have to deal with, is playing with each other, getting a flow of how to play with each other. And it can be a really choppy thing. It's for guys at the Division II, Division I levels where you might have a different team darn near every season.
Yeah, and I think one thing I struggle with so much, I mentioned my high school. You know, I played for a great coach. His name was Randy Reber, and we never called plays. It was, you know, pass, cut, pass, screen away, you know, quick decision. And to me, that obviously I'm used to playing that way. So that's, to me, how I see the game. That's how the game should be played. And I would love to coach that way. But as you mentioned, because so few guys play the game now, a lot of guys train, spend a lot of time in the gym, yes, but not necessarily playing 5-on-5 and having that ball move and see the benefits of it. If you don't have a whole summer, if you're trying to develop a team in a short amount of time, it's tough to say, hey, let's go out and play, because then it just becomes dribble and stand and watch. So, you know, you have to have a balance of some structure. And then what I've learned is that freedom comes from some structure nowadays because of, you know, just the way that guys are trained to play now.
Everything you just said goes back to the fundamental foundation of good basketball, or what we consider to be good basketball. It's got to be tough when you get kids who have not been taught how to screen off the ball. As you said, being trained in some of their individual skills, things that they could do, for a lack of a better way of saying it, for themselves, are probably the best they've ever been. But now when you put 4 other people on the floor with them, and it doesn't involve a high ball screen per se, and you're asking them to come off a pin down and read how they're being chased, what have you, it could take a long time to teach that stuff. Right. One of my best buddies is a college coach, and he's a motion guy. He loves coaching motion, and he's like, dang, I can't
do it. Yep. And especially at the small college, high school level, you probably have limited gym time. You have volleyball finishing up, and then you have the women's basketball after you, so you only have 2 hours. So what do you want to be really good at? What are you willing to devote your time on? And, you know, we devote a lot of our time to the defense. We need to be sharp defensively. We need to be sound in our principles. We need to know how to guard actions we'll see. So you can't be great at everything. You have to be good at everything, but you have to, in my opinion, you have to decide, what do you want to spend your time on? And then how can I be good at the other stuff as well. Like, what's the best way for me to maximize my time in practice to be the best in every area that I can be, while understanding like where you spend your time is where you want to hang your hat. So it's an art, not a science, for sure. And it's something I'm sure that every coach at most levels struggle with.
You don't want to start your season off with 3 or 4 losses, obviously, ever, but starting a season off with some quick losses because you're still in a phase of teaching stuff to kids that they don't have any idea about. So you basically, I would think as a college coach, you've got to start with what they already know, some ball screening actions, things like that, and then hit the floor running with it.
And we have to be able to adjust to our players. It's not players adjusting to us. So we have to be able to recognize what they do well and be educated enough on different styles to go ahead and figure out what works for this player, what works for this group, and utilize those skills that they already have.
Well said. Couldn't be said any better. Tell us about your schedule. What kind of teams do you play? Tell us about your league.
Sure. So our conference is the Central Atlantic Collegiate Conference, and we're actually going through a bit of a transition. One of the best teams in our conference over the last decade plus was Bloomfield College in New Jersey, coached by an amazing coach named Gerald Holmes. And unfortunately, they had to drop down out of the NCAA. Their school was bought by Montclair State, which is a state school in New Jersey. So they decided not to have 2 different NCAA programs. We used to have 2 divisions when Bloomfield was in the conference. We had a North Division, which is mostly teams in North Jersey, New York, Connecticut, and then a South Division, which is Goldie Beacom in Wilmington, Delaware, schools in Philadelphia, and then one in South Jersey. But now that Bloomfield left, we have 1 conference. So we're going from 16 conference games to 20 conference games, which as a coach, I love, because we don't have to go out and try to get all those non-conference games that we used to. But the conference is going to be very competitive, a lot of really good teams. Dominican was picked to win our conference last year. They won an NCAA game last year. They're very good. And then out of conference, we play PSAC team, so the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference. We actually have a game against Millersville coming up this week. We play California University, Pennsylvania right after Thanksgiving. And then we also play Shippensburg on Saturday. And then we play Lincoln in the CIAA. And we play Staten Island from the East Coast Conference. And I'm blanking on the other team that we play, but it escapes my mind at the moment. But it's a really competitive schedule. I think you don't really gain anything from not challenging yourself. So we're excited to take on the challenges that we have, non-conference and conference.
Shippensburg and Cal College of Pennsylvania both had great programs.
Yeah, they do. I think all those PSAC teams, they're extremely well coached, talented players. We always love to challenge ourselves against them.
What are your goals?
Well, I mean, our goal is to go and try to win every game. We talk about why limit yourself. You don't want to go out and set a mark to say, hey, let's win 20, or let's make the championship, or let's win the championship, because there's always the next step. So ultimately every game is a test. We look at it. You prepare for the test by studying in school. So you prepare for the game by saying, hey, this is what this team does well. This is what they don't do so well. This is how we can try to beat them. And then once that test is over, we try to pass the next one. So that's really our mentality, is just go and try to win every game one at a time. One of my favorite books is called Burn Your Goals, essentially because having goals is great, but at the same time, when you achieve your goal, do you just stop? We want to just make sure we keep trying to stay focused on what we're doing and don't stop until the season's over, whenever that is.
All right, Coach, this is what everybody's wanting to hear. Tell us about your upset over Delaware State. And we realize it was an exhibition game for you, but it was a regular season game for the Blue Hens.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really good day, I think, just for our university. We're in such close proximity to Delaware. Obviously, Delaware is the flagship university in the state, most recognizable, Division I, Conference USA. To be on that stage, number one, to get the opportunity that Coach Inglesby and his staff gave to us. We have all the respect in the world for what they do. They're great guys, and they run a great program. But on that particular day, I think we were confident. We had already seen them play Bucknell. So we had some film, so we scouted some of their actions. We looked at the personnel and just went man to man. And I thought we felt confident with the work that we had been putting in. and how it would translate against how they play. So they came out 13-7, I think, and then we hit 2 threes back to back to make it 13-13. And I think after that, it really became just another game. We weren't worried about divisions, weren't worried about the big stadium, we weren't worried about anything except just playing the game. That stretch where we hit 2 threes back to back really calmed us a little bit. And I think from then on, I think we lost the lead once in the second half, and that's it. We didn't play great offensively. If it were a situation where we shot, 17 for 25 from three, and it was just one of those days, it might be different. But, we didn't play great offensively, but we did what we wanted to defensively, withstood their runs, and we had some guys make huge energy plays. One of the guys I didn't mention is Hiram Alexander. He's a returner. Came off the bench for us last year, came off the bench against Delaware, but he made the 3 biggest plays of the game. It was 48-48 partway through the second half, maybe about 12 minutes left. The game was in a little bit of a lull. Neither team were making plays. It was a little bit sloppy. And then he had 2 straight offensive rebound putbacks that were just very, almost like message sending. And then in between those 2, he had a steal right at midcourt that was just really energizing for us. So I want to give him a huge shout out that, he made those plays coming off the bench that I think completely swung the game in our favor. And we have a belt that we give out, like a WWF kind of belt. We call it the juice belt, the guy that brings the juice during the game. And he got that belt after the game for those 3 plays. Now, it was a great day, though. Great day for our guys, great day for our university. We made it clear that we don't want that to be the highlight of our year. We wanted to give us confidence, but at the same time, now we have to work harder. We probably have a target on our back a little bit. We just have to let it motivate us to just keep being the best version of ourselves.
I got to watch the game on ESPN Plus. Your kids really guard well. I know it's a big overstatement of the obvious if you've pulled an upset like that. More specifically, your kids still get out in the passing lanes and put an incredible amount of pressure on the basketball. In our part of America, we don't see college teams play like that because they're so concerned about dribble penetration. That's the first thing I noticed. The second thing I noticed was how quickly your kids move on airtime to get to the proper positioning. The amount of distance your kids cover when the ball's in the air is really impressive.
Well, I appreciate hearing that because I think as a coach, sometimes when you're in it, you look at what you can do better. And I always love to hear, whether it's friends of mine in coaching or just, other coaches that watch it, to hear what your perspective is. And that's something we work on every day. We call it sprinting to your gap, sprinting to the ball. And, that to hear that stood out to you means a lot. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. The amount of ball pressure your kids put up on the ball, and I'm talking maybe even 25, 26 feet away from the baseline, caused at least 4 turnovers. 2 of them were just direct picks. And then 2 other ones were passing lane pick because of the ball pressure. You made the ball handler pick his dribble up and actually turn his back to where he wanted to pass it to. Again, you just don't see that kind of pressure. Yeah, it really refreshing because that's how we played back in the 80s.
Okay.
You got to go get the ball, man. You got to make the ball handler think about a lot of other things than just dribbling the thing.
Yeah. We take a lot of pride in not allowing the ball downhill. We don't want to let that ball get downhill. I heard something else in another podcast I was listening to. They called it death by downhill. And that really does. If you're a defense that allows that ball to get penetrated, and so many bad things can happen, right? Because the defense collapse, you get spray outs, you get long closeouts, blow-bys. So we want to do our job at that point of contact, whether it's a ball screen, a handoff, or just a regular one-on-one situation, isolation, that just the ball can't get downhill, So that's something that we work on every day.
You guys have to spend a lot of time on just one-on-one guarding the basketball. Your guys do a great job of not overhelping. You'll turn a three-point machine on by overhelping. What kind of stuff are you doing to give your kids who are guarding the ball that much confidence to go get the ball handler, but also not create a scenario where you're going to give up the downhill drive?
Well, it's like you said, we do it a lot. We play one-on-one in practice. We play live a lot. We drill long closeouts and breaking down and being ready to guard. Because you have to do both. It's not good enough to just say, hey, I'm going to take away the 3, but then give up a blow by. So I think one thing I've done poorly previously in my coaching career is, try to have too many plans for when things go wrong. Right? Like, okay, when we get beat here, let's X out, let's do this, do that. But sometimes if you have too many, if you overcoach, your team thinks about what they should be doing and their mind works fast, but their body slows down. So, we've really simplified defense this year. So we guard the ball a lot. We shadow the ball a lot. We talk about active hands a lot. We talk about making sure that you're not overhelping, like you said. And it's funny you said that. Our first scrimmage was against NAIA school, and they tore us apart from three because our emphasis this year was like, hey, we don't want to give up layups, right? So that was the place to start. And we were overhelping so much, like off ball side corner. Just like you said, it was a 3-point barrage. Like they didn't miss, and it's because they got open once. So to have that film, it shows exactly what you just talked about, where you can't overhelp, you have to help appropriately, recognize when your teammate doesn't need help, and force them to play one-on-one when necessary.
I always ask people this, you've got a shooter in the corner and the ball's been allowed to go downhill. Do you help? Do you not help? That seems to be a
no-win.
really,
That's a no-win situation there.
yes, a very popular topic. What's your philosophy?
To do your work early, we do have we call it a stun and stay drill, where we talk about being on your line, right? The line from the ball to your man. You want to be up your line, but close enough to get back on the catch. And if you're too far down your line, you can't stun at the ball handler. So by the time you try to influence the ball handler, you have to make a decision. But if you do your work early and you're in that driving lane, just in case your teammate or he gets an advantage on your teammate, you can stunt and then be able to get back on the catch. So that's something we drill: the proper position, proper stunning, hand and foot fake, making sure you stay on balance so you don't have all your weight on the direction that you stunt and you can get back. So those little details, I think, have been big for us.
Do you play any zone?
We have in the past, but we haven't practiced in much this year. We practiced a little bit to know how to play against zone, and if we had to. But that's the other cool thing about coaching at the small college level, is you have to be able to coach so many different styles, because you never know what kind of team you'll have, because you have to get the best talent. It's a player's game. So if you pass up on guys because you have a certain system and they don't fit your system, you might be missing out on some really good talent. I think one year, I believe it was 22-23, the defense wasn't really working. Our better players weren't great man-to-man defenders, a little bit on the small side. So we ended up playing all zone, right? Because it just kind of fit that team. So you have to be able to understand how to coach a lot of different offenses, a lot of different defenses. So when that time comes that you have to pull it out of your toolbox, that you can do it.
Well said. I really like the fact that you said, I'm going to get players, and if I have to adjust my system, so be it. I see a lot of players now, as I got into TV broadcasting, a lot of really good high school players who, over 1,000-point scores get overlooked because, well, they're not going to fit the system. I was like, God bless. I would love to have that kid on my team.
Yeah. Sometimes, I think, and I do it too. I think we think about what guys can't do or what their drawbacks are, and we forget what they can do. Like I'll use our point guard, for instance. Like, he's really small. And I thought that he was going to get some Division I interest because of all the things we talked about, right? That he's a winner and that, he's, just very, very talented kid. But, he ended up not having a whole lot of interest just because of his size. But my thing is, like, he's been small his whole life. So he kind of knows how to play small. And there's also some advantages to that. It's not comfortable playing against somebody smaller than you're normally playing against, right? So there's some good things that can come with some quote unquote drawbacks as well. So it's just, every coach has their preferences, but I do think that sometimes we need to think about what guys do well more so than what they don't do well.
Well said. Our point guard in college was small as well, but my goodness, he could go get the basketball. I mean, he could sit in the stands and turn the ball handler and make people's lives miserable.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to be said for that. And your kids do a great job of that. I know I've said it redundantly. The first thing that stood out was, my gosh, these guys are actually playing something other than pack line.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And what I tell the guys is like, I want, and it seems like we want this to be our identity. And there's a responsibility that comes with that. Because if you decide that, hey, this is who we are, the second you decide, I'm going to take a day off, or, I don't feel like doing it today, it's obvious, right? So, it's something that if you do it all the time, it can be really beneficial. But the one thing you can't do is deviate from it. Like this is going to be us, and it has to be us, no matter what gym, no matter what circumstance, no matter what opponent. Because if you take your foot off the gas a little bit, it's obvious.
Yes, well said. Smartest thing I've heard all day. The only other college team I've seen who's out guarding people the way Wilmington University is the Bowling Green Falcons. Well, I watched them play yesterday, and my gosh, they can get out and guard. They were playing at Davidson. Just really unique now to see teams where you've got a guy out in the passing lane. You've got guys way up the line, on the line, BG even at the high post. It was nice to see, they had guys half siding the high post instead of playing behind them. It used to drive me crazy when I coached to let the ball go to the high post. I thought that was one of the most deadly places. But the thing with that being said is the reason they could position themselves in that old school up the line, on the line is because of the pressure on the ball.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. Check them out on Synergy.
Yeah, they guard. My God, they didn't guard last year, but my God,
nor did we, and that's why we wanted to make sure that was an emphasis for us, because we really struggled defensively last year.
Yeah, isn't it funny how it happens that way?
Yep.
Hey, thank you so much for your time, and I thoroughly enjoyed talking to you. I'm going to follow your team, and man, I wish that you played somewhere around here so I could go watch in person. Stay in touch. I don't have the words to express how fun it was to watch someone's team who just sits down and guards and plays defense.
I appreciate the kind words, and I appreciate the opportunity and the invitation, and this was a lot of fun, so thank you.
Got written down in my notes. I always do this, Coach. Rebounding. Your kids rebound the heck out of the ball.
I hope it continues.
Yeah, physical box out. The other thing that stood out that I loved was if your kid couldn't block out, which happens. There's times you can't get the angle. They just went straight to the ball, jumped up and got it. And people say, well, no kidding, Derek. Well, hey, you watch basketball and you tell me how many guys you see just stand there and watch the thing.
Right.
Versus going and getting it. And people are like, oh, okay, I see what you're saying now.
Yeah.
Because it sticks out, man. When your kids stand there and watch it, it drives us nuts. But the civilians who have never coached don't notice that stuff. But man, your kids go get it.
Thanks. I appreciate that. So if we can make that an all the time thing, then we'll be in good shape.
All right, Coach. Hey, have a great Sunday and Godspeed the rest of your season.
Thanks. You too. Take care.